You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today, man, we have an awesome show lined up for y'all. Man, we have a guest all the way from Philly, Maro DēLo. And he is a pop rock crossover musician. He has long time interest in blues, rock, and pop music. And first and foremost, I just want to say, how you doing, Marlo, and how's it going?
I'm doing really, really well, Shamaya. I appreciate you having me on the show.
First and foremost, man, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
So, like Shamaya said, I'm a pop rock crossover musician and songwriter and performer. I also act and model as well. My journey initially started in music. As a kid, I picked up guitar, bass, drums, ukulele, even mandolin. But I ended up sticking with the guitar for many, many years. And about 10 years into playing guitar, I started listening to John Mayer. And listening to John Mayer kind of sparked this creative, bulb in my head that made me want to start writing music. And ever since I was about 16, I've been writing music. And I graduated high school back in 2018. And during my senior year, and since then, I've been pursuing it professionally, working with producers in New York City, LA, and even locally here in Philly. And it's just been such a wild ride so far.
And like Maro said, I mean, he's been doing all these great things, but you performed for 8 years on national stages. And I only want to go down the list because that might take a little bit too much time. But if you want to read about all the great things that he's been doing, you might want to go to maromusician.com. Again, that's his website, maromusician.com, because you can read and learn more all the crazy stuff that he's been doing thus far in the music industry. But let's dive into the story of how you got started, man. What inspired you to want to get into the music industry, and what was the first stages like?
So specifically about the first, thing about the music industry that got me into it was through a family member of mine. She was judging at a big event for advertising, and one of the co-judges said, "Hey, I know these music producers, and I know that your family member is quite. He seems like he's talented." And we kind of made the connection there, and I met these producers, and they're Jimmy K. Bones and Neff Jones up in New York City. Those guys are freaking amazing. And just my experience from working with them, I walked into it, seeing it as my family was like, this isn't a joke. This is the real deal. This is you're going to start really doing this as a career and not as just like a hobby anymore. And I had to sit there and think about it. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I mean, I'm young and I'm able to play and sing. I might as well just do it. And I remember ever since our first recording session, I just fell in love with the whole concept of doing what I do. And, I worked with them for about a year and a half, and we made 6-7 songs together, some really great stuff. And a couple of those songs I plan to re-release sometime in the fall, and to retrack those vocals and put marketing and promotion behind them. But after working with them for about a year and a half, I started working with Mr. Gary Miller out in Los Angeles, and we wrote a bunch of songs together. And I'm putting those songs out now, which is just exhilarating because it's been those songs were over a year in the making. Over a longer period of time than I put together songs and stuff like that. And, from going back and forth to New York and LA has really just been an experience because, not only am I getting to do what I love, but I get to network within my industry. I get to meet people. I get to make connections, and if it weren't for me working with Gary Miller, I wouldn't have the vocal coach that I have now that within the span of around the time the pandemic started till about now, I've gained 2 octaves of vocal range within that time. One go, an octave higher and an octave lower. And then after working with Gary, I started working with David Ivory, and he's responsible for if you're familiar with Philadelphia acts, The Roots, Hailstorm, Erica Blue, all these really, really terrific bands and artists have come out of being developed by him. And we're currently working on a project right now that I'm really, really, really excited about, and that I plan to release late summer, early fall.
And once again, we're talking to Maro DēLo. And if you want to go to his website, that's maromusician.com. And like you said, yeah, you've been doing a lot of things during the pandemic. You've been diving into the Logic stuff and learning some of that process and production and behind the scenes stuff. What was it like when you had to adapt? Because a lot of artists, I've been talking to a lot of artists, how they've been able to adapt to all this crazy times that we're in right now. What was some of the things that you did right away when everything was shut down and you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that anymore? How did you occupy your time and still being active with your creativity?
It's a really great question. I feel like it's a great question because everyone can answer differently. But what I did with my time was I was actually in LA just before it happened, like days before the president said quarantine time. And I remember coming back immediately feeling this sense of like dread and devastation, like throughout my body, because I was going to move to LA come that April or May. Obviously, we know that didn't happen. Not a lot of things didn't happen for people that year. And what I did to occupy my time was, like I briefly mentioned, working with my vocal coach, Mr. Shaun Williamson. He like saved my voice, pretty much saved my life. And at the same time, I went through a lot of struggles with the quarantine and distractions. Like, my grandmother passed away. I went through my first breakup, just a week later. And it was no matter how low I was drugged, I still was pulled back up by the passion to just get better and be more creative with my art. And, that was around the time, after the pandemic, grandma, girlfriend, and then I started working with David Ivory. And working with him, I hope he recognizes it and knows it, but like working with him, like saved my life again. Because he reminded me of what was important. And that's the material, is that as a musician, if the music's good things will follow. And I also did a lot of self-reflecting and also still networking as much as I can. I even attended a couple music conferences virtually, and was jumping into virtual rooms and networking with people. I even met a booker, just trying to do everything that I could without breaking guidelines or without, having to, because imagine if I had moved to LA right before the pandemic and then bam, I'm like, well, nothing to do here but pick my nose. I might as well just go back and have to deal with that. So thankfully didn't have to deal with that. But like I said, worked on my voice, worked on my playing, did a ton of writing. Writing also just, it was just my medicine. And that's how I occupied my time.
And once again, listen to I Am Refocused Radio. We are talking to music artist Maro DēLo. And in February of this year, 2021, you dropped a new project called Breathe You. Tell us about this project, because not only did it do numbers, it got over 28 Spotify playlists. And if you're in the music industry right now, indie artists, we all know the ads that go on our timeline. You need playlists. Hook me up. I got the thing you need. Itch. What was it like to drop a project in 2021? And tell us the behind-the-scenes stories of how that came about.
So the project Breathe You, it all started with Mr. Gary Miller. Real talent. And, things happen and we don't work together anymore. But, I still thank him for the songs that we crafted together. Absolutely. But so it all started right before I first met him. I went through a bit of a separation with someone. I wouldn't call it a breakup, but I was still dealing with those, emotions to some degree. And then, his own drama blew up in his face right in front of me. And, I remember the next day, pretty much his relationship had fallen apart, and we were both in a vulnerable state, so vulnerable enough to to be able to talk about it. And when we talked about how we felt about our situations, we started writing Breathe You, because I remember we had, we had the hook, I breathe you in, I breathe you out, I lay awake at night because I can't sleep, you're all I think about. And we didn't really get much further because the inspiration wasn't vomiting out of us yet. But it started to when we both were in that same emotional state, and it turned into a really heartfelt, emotional breakup song about the very beginning stages of that breakup.
Wow. Man, when things started to come together and the song went from, infinite stages, because in production, it can go super quick or it can be a long process. What was that for you? Was it something that it just, boom, everything just came together super fast? Or was it in process, different stages where the song was finalized?
With that song, out of all the songs that we did, that was the one song that came the quickest to us, I think. And it was because we were urgent to distract ourselves from how sad we were and to sublimate that energy into something positive, like good work.
Yeah.
So it to answer your question, it kind of came out in blobs. We went back and forth from sitting in his backyard to going into the studio. So we would write in his backyard, and then we would go back into the studio to produce it and put it together and put all of our thoughts into one place, which is, logic, of course. And, that back and forth process was good for us. I remember we got kind of stuck in the second half of the second verse for a little bit, and we weren't really sure what to do with it. But then it just clicked, and eventually it came right into play, and that was pretty much it. The rest of the song really just flew out of us almost, and I feel like I've heard the hip hop artist Lil Dicky, he does this process. I've heard in an interview with Benny Blanco that it's called the no stone unturned process, and it literally takes him like 3 years to write a song or 3 years to make a song, and of course everyone's got their process. But with my process, it's really just about taking what my voice is doing and the sound of my voice, and then creating an atmosphere with the instruments around it to give my melody and lyrics a place to run around freely.
And with music, earlier in the interview, you said, that's not all I do. You also are into acting as well. So what's some of the exciting things that you are also doing in 2021?
So with acting in 2021 and during 2020, I actually have an agent who helps me get auditions and stuff, and she's really connected. She's down in Nashville, and she'll be sending me auditions. And then my dad is a absolutely phenomenal photographer and videographer. Like, he just really has it down. He's made a career out of it. So we set up his the seamless equipment and his camera, and then we do these auditions. And I haven't gotten anything back yet. But the thing is it's not about sending it out and hoping you get it back. It's like you send it and forget it. If you get something, you get something. If you don't, you don't. But at the same time, towards the end of 2020, in November, not to get stray away from 2021, but I joined Playhouse West for about November and December. But December went all virtual, and it wasn't the same. And I realized that acting it's definitely something that I like to do, and it's something that I embrace. And it was interesting. At first, I wasn't so sold on the idea of being an actor, But as time has gone on, I've learned to enjoy it, and I think it's because over time, practice makes perfect, and the better you get at something, the more you enjoy it. So I can definitely say that with the trajectory that I'm going, I'm definitely open to acting, absolutely, as a job, of course. And the thing is, I consider myself a musician who can act, rather than an actor. But I do look forward to getting more auditions this year, and possibly even joining Playhouse West sometime in the future again.
If someone was listening to this interview right now, and by the way, listen to I Am Refocused Radio, talking to music artist Maro DēLo, and if someone's listening to this interview right now, and they're looking at your headshot, they're looking at your website, and once again, the website is maromusician.com, and they wanted to get you in your acting career going on, full throttle, who would you want to work with and why?
Personally, I feel like, I'm open to the idea of really working with anyone but honestly, I definitely want to work with M. Night Shyamalan. I just think that, not only is he a local guy and a lot of his movies have been shot, out in the Philly suburbs of where I'm from. But he's I love his work and I love what he's doing. And excuse me 1 second. Excuse me. But as for actors that I really look up to that I would definitely want to work with, Ken Badgley from the show You and Gossip Girl. I think he's a really great actor. I also, I look up to Ben Affleck as well, even though has some sort of reputation. I still really admire his work. But also, I would still want to be coached by my coach that I have, Joey Perillo. He's just such a phenomenal guy, and he really pulls the character out of me. I feel like half of what a character is as an actor is really what your coach or your guide brings out of you, or the environment that you're in when you're acting. Because when you're acting in an audition, you're not supposed to have props. You're not supposed to, unless they say so, which is not very often. But taking in your surroundings as an actor, like at Playhouse West, they have a stage, and everything there for with like a couch, a table, lamps, whatever's there, and you can kind of use your environment around you to excel your character further by making them more animated and doing things. But honestly, people that I have to work with, I again, like I said, it's about having the right coach, which is I personally feel is the most important part about being an actor.
And you've been listening to I Am Refocused Radio, talking to the one and only Maro DēLo. You can go check out his website to see what he's doing, maromusician.com. Again, that's maromusician.com. While we still got time on the clock left for you, man, someone listening right now and they are creative themselves, and they're listening to this interview. We know that you have great success in what you're doing right now, and someone listening right now and they want to be in your shoes and push their music career or acting, modeling career, what words of wisdom would you give that individual as far as staying focused on their goals?
So to whoever's listening, I would say, in my position, you technically you need people because, it takes a village, but you shouldn't ever feel the need one person or to lean on someone for your success. Don't ever get to a place where you don't need any specific person to help you in your career, and be as independent as you can without overworking yourself. Because, there's a difference between taking it on and being able to handle it, and then taking it on and being so overwhelmed and so overworked that you lose the passion. So finding that happy middle is different for everybody, and that's something that you have to figure out on your own. But like I said, my biggest piece of advice, don't ever feel like you need anyone to be successful. And that also goes for happiness as well. You don't need toxicity in your life because, I realized when I cut the people out of my life that were dragging me down or that didn't support me, it made my life 10 times better. So just only go where the love is.
So we got Maro representing Philly, Mr. Maro DēLo, doing big things, not just in the music industry, but pretty soon, you heard it first here. Well, maybe not first here, but you heard it soon enough here on I Am Refocused Radio in the model and acting world, doing big things. What do you see your future self doing, and what do you want your legacy to be when it's all said and done?
In the future, I see myself traveling the world and touring as much as I can, and connecting with my audience and connecting with different people and reaching people with my music, as well as, maybe I'll be in a big movie, and that would be really, really cool to experience that. It's a big adventure. And same with modeling. I definitely plan to do more runway stuff in the future, again, as soon as everything starts to clear up. But also obviously writing and just getting better at my craft and networking and just pushing myself further, because I just have this undesired need to just want more,
That's real. And when people are looking at all this stuff with the pandemic, we're slowly starting to see some positive things happen with people getting vaccines and stuff. So concerts and stuff hopefully will be in the near future. What is it like for you when you know that sooner than later, we'll be able to do concerts again? What's going to be your favorite moment when you be able to be in that position?
Probably just walking out onto the stage and saying, we made it, didn't we?
Right.
But then, honestly, I feel like launching into my first song and my first show in over a year will just be honestly, I've been waiting to do it so long, and I think it'll be a tearful moment for me, honestly.
Awesome, man. Well, once again, go to his website. You don't know the website? I can tell you. If you are not here on Army Focus Radio, you might want to listen to our shows. Go to armyfocusradio.com. But if you want to go check out the amazing guests we have on today, go to maromusician.com. That's maromusician.com. And check out his social media. He is also on Instagram. That is Maro DēLo Music. And check him out, man, because like I said, man, big things happen to people who stay focused and stay going on their grind, because that's what it's about. Dream big, but do the work and have that purpose, man. What do you say before we let you go, Maro, to that person?
Thank you guys for tuning in, as well as new releases are coming out on June 4th, July 2nd, and then sometime in the late summer as well. Please check out my website. I have, like you've been saying, maromusician.com. I sell merch there. I got tees, tats, mugs, leather cups, and more. So please go check it out and follow my social media and tag along for the journey.
Awesome. Once again, you've been listening to I Am Refocus Radio, and we had the true honor to talk to musician Maro DēLo. So first and foremost, man, thank you taking time out of your busy schedule for doing what you're doing, and thank you for representing Philly, man. Shout out to Philly.
Yeah, man. Are you actually from there?
Oh, I'm from San Antonio, but brotherly love is everywhere, man.
Good point, man. Good point. Thank you so much for having me on here, Shemai. I appreciate it, man.
And like we say every single show on Army Focus Radio, man, keep God first, stay focused, and peace.